On November 29th at 9:58 a.m., a Marine Corps H-1Z Viper attack helicopter was tearing south over the Caribbean at 150 knots, racing toward a Cartel go-fast boat that had absolutely no idea it was about to qualify as an artificial reef. The Viper, basically a flying anger issues support group strapped to twin engines, had launched from the USS Wooma just 15 minutes earlier. And in exactly 12 minutes, that boat would learn, very violently, why challenging the U.S. military is a lot like trying to outrun your problems when Usain Bolt is the one chasing you. Inside the cockpit, the pilot's eyes were locked on the targeting data streaming across his TopOwl helmet-mounted display. Range, 18 nautical miles. Closure rate, 195 knots. Time to weapons release, 7 minutes. The boat below had no idea that democracy was approaching at the speed of "you should have stayed home," guided by satellites, tracked by aircraft, and carried by a Marine who hadn't missed a target since flight school. Through the helicopter's FLIR display, the pilot could already see the heat plume from the Cartel boat's twin outboards, two white-hot dots streaking across the cooler blue background of the Caribbean, racing north like they actually had a chance. Spoiler, they didn't. Overhead, the target was being tracked by a P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft cruising at 20,000 feet. The P-8 is what happens when Boeing looks at a 737 and says, "What if instead of seats, we install $400 million worth of surveillance equipment?" Its AN/APY-10 radar had picked up the go-fast boat immediately. The signature was unmistakable. Twin outboards, 45 knots, heading north from Venezuela, riding what smugglers lovingly call the Caribbean Express. Basically, the I-95 of bad decision makers. And because the Poseidon crew believed in doing homework, they even dropped sonobuoys to record the acoustic signature. The sensors picked up two Mercury 300 horsepower outboards running slightly out of sync because evidently engine maintenance didn't make the cartel's budget this quarter. Back inside the Viper, the pilot was programming target coordinates into the TSS, the target sight system, projected through the TopOwl visor. The TSS is essentially Iron Man's helmet if Tony Stark had enlisted in the Marines rather than building a billion-dollar tech empire. This $200,000 piece of head-mounted wizardry weighs just under 5 pounds and projects everything: target data, flight symbology, laser range, weapon cues, directly into the pilot's field of view. Wherever the pilot looked, the FLIR turret under the Viper's nose followed, slaving itself to his line of sight with surgeon-level precision. The sensor resolution was so good it could spot a candle flame from 5 kilometers away. Which is great, because today's target was basically a floating bad idea with engines. The Viper itself was armed to the teeth. 8 AGM-114R Hellfire missiles hung from its stub wings, 4 per side. The Romeo variant was chosen for its multipurpose warhead. It doesn't need to know what it's hitting. It just needs that thing to stop existing. Each missile weighed 108 pounds, stretched 64 inches long, and cost around $150,000, roughly the price of a Harvard education, except this one gets delivered at Mach 1.3 to someone who definitely didn't fill out a FAFSA form. The pilot set the laser's PRF code, pulse repetition frequency, to 1113. Think of it like the Hellfire's private phone number. The missile would follow only this specific laser signature, ignoring other lasers, the sun's glare, or even a disco ball from Studio 54 if one somehow drifted into the Caribbean. The U.S. military learned long ago that sharing laser codes leads to buddy lacing accidents, and those are the kind of oopsies nobody wants. So now every laser gets its own unique digital handshake, and missiles weren't the only option. The Viper's chin turret carried an M197 3-barrel 20mm cannon with 650 rounds. Capable of swiveling 120 degrees left or right, it could shred a fiberglass hull from over 2 kilometers away. But when you have missiles that do calculus mid-flight, the cannon becomes Plan B. Thanks to Link 16, the military's high-speed data link, basically the world's deadliest group chat, the P-8 was feeding continuous updates. Boat speed, 45 knots. Heading, 350 degrees. Time to Venezuelan waters, 15 minutes. Time to Hellfire impact, 12 minutes. The math wasn't leaning in the smugglers' favor. Honestly, their situation was sinking faster than a screen door on a submarine. At 10:06 a.m., the Viper closed to weapons range. The pilot activated the laser designator in the TSS. Instantly, a boat that thought it was being sneaky was being hit with a beam of 1.064 micron laser energy. Invisible to humans, but to the Hellfire seeker, it might as well have been a 10-story neon billboard saying "Free buffet here." Sensing something was wrong, the Cartel boat began doing evasive maneuvers, 45-degree direction changes every 30 seconds. Cute, but the TSS auto-track mode locked on easily. Its algorithms predicted the boat's movement better than the smugglers could predict their next bad decision. The laser reflecting off the fiberglass hull created a sparkle pattern about 2 meters wide. The boat was basically pretending to be a disco ball for very angry missiles. The TopOwl helmet tracked even the tiniest head movement. Electromagnetic coils detected shifts as small as 0.1 degrees, updating 60 times per second. The FLIR turret matched the pilot's gaze in under 200 milliseconds. Hollywood uses motion capture suits to make animated character stance. The Marines use the same principles to aim weapons with terrifying accuracy. The pilot could look at a target, tap a button to lock it, then look somewhere else entirely while the computer maintained perfect stabilization. It compensated for aircraft vibration, turbulence, and even the pilot's breathing. Next was missile configuration. He selected LOBL, lock on before launch. LOL, lock on after launch, is for when you're feeling adventurous or when the target's behind terrain. But for a boat doing the cha-cha slide on open water, LOBL was the obvious choice. The missile would see the exact laser spot before it even left the rail, like getting GPS directions before starting a road trip instead of winging it. Attack profile, direct attack. Top attack is for armored vehicles. Boats made of fiberglass? Direct attack, all day long. Fuse setting, instantaneous contact. The Romeo variant does offer delay fusing for bunkers, but a fiberglass speedboat has about as much structural integrity as a swimsuit in a paintball match. Instant detonation ensured maximum splintering. Inside the selected Hellfire, the Seeker head was cooling to minus 200 degrees Celsius using compressed argon. Supercooling eliminates thermal noise, allowing the missile to detect the faintest laser reflection through its germanium lens. The Seeker locked onto the 1113 PRF signature. It ignored wave glints, sun reflections, or random optical noise. It knew exactly which sparkle belonged to it, like a guided missile soulmate. Meanwhile, the missile ran self-tests. The ring laser gyroscope spun up to 40,000 RPM. The flight computer loaded its control laws, physics equations that define how to intercept a moving target. 147 internal checks ran in less than 1 second. Status: green. This missile was wide awake and ready to ruin someone's day. Range: 5.5 kilometers. Perfect. At this distance, the Hellfire arrives with maximum energy and optimal angle. The laser track was solid. Despite the boat's frantic zigzags, the TSS kept the beam steady. The pilot leveled the helicopter at 2,000 feet to reduce vibration, then waited. Finally, the radio call came through headphones. Viper 21, weapons free, cleared hot. In military terms, that means you may now deliver high-speed diplomacy. At 10:09 a.m., the pilot squeezed the trigger. The Hellfire launched. The solid rocket motor ignited instantaneously, delivering 500 pounds of thrust, and accelerating the 108-pound missile from 0 to Mach 1.3 in just 2.5 seconds. That's nearly 20 Gs of acceleration, enough to turn a watermelon into a smoothie. But the electronics inside were built for this level of chaos. Immediately, the autopilot took over. The missile thought, using real-time proportional navigation. Laser energy detected at bearing 186 degrees. Depression angle 12 degrees. Altitude 2,000 feet. Relative speed Mach 1.1. Distance 5,100 meters. Solution: climb to gain energy, then dive for waterline impact. Every 20 milliseconds, it recalculated the intercept point 50 times per second, using the same math a quarterback uses to lead a receiver. Except this receiver was made of fiberglass and about to have the worst day of its life. As it accelerated, the missile punched through the transonic region, shaking under intense aerodynamic turbulence. The control fins compensated instantly. Propellant burned at roughly 12 pounds per second inside a chamber reaching 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Air friction heated the missile skin to nearly 900 degrees Fahrenheit. It arsed upward to 2,500 feet, then nosed over into a 35-degree dive, gravity adding to the missile's bad mood. Inside the warhead, the FMU-139 intelligent fuse armed itself. Not a simple impact trigger, this thing uses sensors and logic to decide precisely when to detonate. And with instantaneous mode selected, it would trigger the moment the crush switch registered deformation. The seeker never lost track of the sparkle. As the missile approached, the reflected laser energy expanded from a point to a shape. The guidance computer could now identify the hull outline clearly. 5 seconds to impact. Proportional navigation was solving equations like the kid in class who reminds the teacher they forgot to assign homework. 3 seconds. Control fins locked for final approach. 1 second. The seeker captured its final image. A white fiberglass hull growing larger at roughly 995 miles per hour. Impact. The crush switch fired. The fuse detonated the 20-pound multipurpose warhead. The explosion delivered the equivalent of 28 pounds of TNT. Overpressure exceeded 200 psi, enough to shred steel. Fiberglass didn't stand a chance. A brilliant white bloom burst across the TSS display, saturating the infrared sensors for a full second. Then the debris field appeared, a perfect 100-meter circle of what used to be a boat. Engine cowling, shattered hull fragments, seat pieces, everything rained into the ocean like confetti thrown by Poseidon himself. Viper 21. Good effect on target. Vessel destroyed. The pilot's voice was calm, professional, like he hadn't just turned $1 million smuggling operation into a cautionary tale. The Viper orbited once more, confirming nothing larger than a beach ball remained on the surface. Then it turned north toward the USS Wuma. Total time from missile launch to complete vaporization, 8.3 seconds. Less time than it takes to order coffee at Starbucks. Message delivered at the speed of sound. Ahead of schedule, under budget, and extremely educational for anyone thinking about smuggling on the Caribbean Express. Bye for now.